Welcome to REI 101. I don't know what was going on with Zoom. How's it
Yeah,
going,
I was,
bro?
it was asking me for a passcode, and I put that one in. You just sent me. I was able to get
Well,
in.
well, you don't need one now because you
Okay,
you
good.
already have it.
Yeah.
That was well. Richard got on without a passcode. So all right. So we are live REI 101. We are wrapping up our contractor um, phase, or
Serious.
managing the rehab. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really well. Have had a busy morning this morning. Ate my lunch and ready to talk real estate and finish off this really great series on like managing rehabs and contractors. It's been pretty good so far with our guests that we've had over the past couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's been
yeah.
good. I'm really excited about September's series. We're going to do our normal deal on the first, and then we're going to get into the one of my favorite books, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor series. So we're going to be talking about. We got some really good guests. We have Alicia Shepard is going to be on one week. Charlie Barty from Net Worth is going to be on. So
Awesome.
think a million, buy a million, own a million. So we're going to be talking about the mindset and the ways that millionaire real estate investors actually think about things. So that's going to be very exciting. But today, managing rehab timeline. We had some really good guests this month. We had Javier. Good job with that. Scott McDonald, always a ton of fun. And now it's just you and me. And so we get to take a deep dive into the timeline, payment schedules today. We also get to tell some more stories today. So we'll be talking about some of the dumb things that I don't know about you, but I have made some mistakes myself. But even better, I have witnessed other people make mistakes that I have been able to avoid. So
Mhm.
we can definitely hit that today. So welcome everyone. I'm joined by my good friend and real estate brother Albert. Thank you for being on the call. We're going to be tackling some real world challenges. Yes, challenges. This business is full of them. Every day is a new challenge, right? New lesson.
Every day's a new lesson. I mean, if you're not learning something every day, then that's a wasted day in my
That,
book.
that's a wasted day. Yeah, and a
Yeah,
day you'll never get back. So,
right.
rehab is a critical part. 99.9% of the deals that we do are going to involve some type of rehab. And the reason
Mhm.
is would you agree, in essence, that's where the money is made. It's buying less than desirable properties and then making them more desirable.
Right. Yeah, you kind of force that appreciation, by even if it's just something cosmetic, right? Maybe updating the carpet or taking the carpet out, just putting some vinyl plank there, increasing the value of the property, fresh coat of paint. All those involve possibly, potentially using contractors,
Hmm.
unless you are an expert floor installer or you have the time that it takes to prep and paint the entire interior of a home, including trim and doors and closets and things like that. So I don't have the expertise nor time. So we're always going to be using contractors. So and I think that's one of the better things about real estate is you get something that needs a little bit of work. You put that work into it, increase the property value, and build wealth that way.
I think there are people out there that buy a project and think, I watch Better Homes and Gardens, or I watch something on TV, and the investors on TV end up doing a lot of this stuff, and they're like, oh, well, that looks easy. I can paint. I'm going to save some money. I can do floors. I can save some money. And what do we end up finding when you get somebody who goes in as a DIY project and tries to do all the work themselves?
I mean, it's going to be over time. It's going to take longer, and it's probably going to cost you more because
Hmm.
you're probably going to make mistakes, and the quality is probably not going to look like it's professionally done.
Yeah.
Those three things, and those three things add up to more money out of your bank account, and potentially your property is not worth as much if it's not done professionally.
And I think when it comes to, like, let's take art for an example. As an artist myself, when I create something new, it seems perfect at some point. It may seem perfect. And then when I share it with the world's going to have a completely different perspective. A lot of people approach their real estate investments like that. They go and they do some drywall. They don't have a lot of experience. If you don't, dear God, please, if you don't have experience doing drywall, don't even try. Don't even try. Don't, you're going to, it's going to look bad. And bad looking drywall is such an eyesore, right? So it's kind of like that. It's never going to look as good as you think it looks, especially when you're the owner, when you're the creator. It's kind of like having children. we, anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
I'll work on that joke a little bit, see if I can use it again. So, okay,
Austin,
so yes, sir.
Austin, that reminds me of the person who lives next door um, to us over there in the
Yeah.
neighborhood. That Albert, I don't know if you know the story, but one of our neighbors decided he was going to rehab his own house he
Mm.
lives in, and he had no construction or rehab background at all, and he didn't tackle something like if I was going to jump into that scenario, right? I would start with something very minor, like maybe I'll install some new ceiling fans, or maybe I'll paint or so. Well, this guy decided he was going to jump off and he was going to rehab his kitchen.
Mm.
And in doing so, he was not going to buy prefab cabinets. He was going to build them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this guy, he did. He ripped out his entire kitchen cabinets and built in his garage cabinets and put them in. And when
Okay.
they told me the story, I thought it was a joke. Like I've got to see it. I don't know, Austin, if you've ever seen them, but
No.
yeah, yeah.
Were they that bad?
Man, well, not only were they that bad, but he did them at the wrong height.
Oh,
Yeah, he didn't. He messed up the measurement somehow, and so when he finished, so the lower section, the when you put the countertop on, right,
Hmm.
they match the height of uh, your stove and oven, or it fits where your dishwasher goes in below. Well, he was off about 6 inches. He
wow.
was 6 inches too high. So to
Oh, wow.
solve the problem, he put the appliances in and then just put them on cinder blocks,
Oh,
and then
oh
built a
God.
little then built a little cover over the front to try to match him. So
So he's getting creative.
yeah, so everything's up about the lower cabinets are up about chest high, and yeah. So
Oh my God.
that's my rehab story. Anytime I'm thinking about jumping into something, I always think of that guy.
You
Yeah.
know, everybody's good at something. We have our areas of expertise. Richard, there are things that you do that I would never even start to learn. It just wouldn't be a good return on my time investment. Surgery is a great example. You would save a lot of money performing surgery on yourself, but you would also die. So there's a trade-off there.
Yeah.
So,
Not worth it.
so
All right.
let's talk about the timeline. So we're going to start, Albert. You tell me what are some common mistakes you see with investors, especially this year, 2024. I think we see a lot of really good examples of mistakes that are happening with the timelines. And I can tell you a story about when somebody took way too long and ended up making a ton of money, but that's a different scenario. What are some common mistakes you see investors making here with the timeline?
Well, I think like if you think back on our calls previously, having a detailed project plan, right, and a scope of work, having a draw schedule, all of those things kind of work together to kind of keep everybody accountable. It
Hmm.
keeps your contractor accountable because, hey, these things have to happen in this order, right? You're going to work together to develop that project plan. And then you have that draw schedule. And hey, you're not going to get paid until these things on this schedule have been taken care of. So I think that's a big mistake that people, or things that people overlook, is they just walk in with their contractor, they're pointing at this, hey, do that, paint this, move this wall without documenting it.
Right.
And then the contractor gets started and they might be jumping around doing a few things here or there and wanting more money from you, but nothing's really completed, nothing's
Right.
really done. And then having to come back, or if they're doing things out of order, for instance, let's say, I don't know, something extreme. Let's say they didn't finish the rough end and they're starting to put up drywall, or your drywall guy covers up all your electrical outlets,
Right.
things like that, can really slow a project down. I think
Yes.
that's one thing, is not having the right project plan. Um, Accounting for material delays and ordering your materials. I remember back in 2021, 2022, there were some huge delays in Windows. Remember, like a lot of people were rehabbing back then. We had sometimes 10 or 12-week
Hmm.
delays in just regular Windows, or storm rated Windows too. So there's delays in getting your materials. So you have to account for that. And then inspections. Some people don't account for the time it takes for inspections, or don't account for the number of inspections that are needed for a specific project.
And it's different. Like every city is going to be different with what inspections they're going to need. I mean, there's a lot of factors that will
Yeah,
affect what inspections are needed and when
yeah.
they're needed.
The other big thing too is weather. Being here on the Gulf Coast, you can go many days with rain.
Hmm.
And sometimes if you're at that phase, okay, cool, we can work inside. But sometimes you have to close up the outside and get that done, or you might be at a phase, like for instance, a true story for us was we were ready to pour the concrete driveways on these new construction properties, but it had rained for like 3 or 4 days. Well, I'm thinking, okay, that just puts us back 3 or 4 days. Well, no, you need like 6 to 12 inches of that ground to be dry. And
Hmm.
it might take a week for that amount of ground at that depth to actually dry out, even with the Houston weather.
Yeah.
So, accounting for weather delays, just, it's unpredictable, but you have to account for it.
I think it's a good idea to when you're working with the contractor, just to ask them like, you know, what delays do you expect to see? What are some common delays? Have that conversation with your inspector. With your contractor, excuse me. Inspections, one story, one of my first flips I did with a client was in the city of Pasadena, and they redid the electrical work. It was an older home and had the old aluminum wiring. So they put the money in, they did the electrical work, and then they had to take a lot of drywall out. They had to put drywall up, and then you paint and texture and do all that stuff. And they're at the final stage of the rehab, and the city's coming in to inspect, and they're like, "Who inspected the electrical?" Or why didn't you get the electrical inspected? And they're like, well, we just flipped a house in LaPorte, did the same thing. In fact, the house in
Mhm.
LaPorte was older and it wasn't required. Well, they didn't know that. They didn't know because they didn't ask. And the city was like, no, you need an electric inspection in order to get a proper electrical inspection. We need this drywall removed. So they had to go and take out the drywall and redo it. And it cost them time and money
Mhm.
that could have been prevented just by getting with the city, making sure they knew and understood what city inspections going to be required.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, you also brought up the point about materials. We saw this a lot during COVID because
Mhm.
it was taking 3 months to get windows. Also, like lumber prices at that time, I remember were inflating so much it was really throwing people's numbers off
Mhm.
because of that. So really g- being on top of the pricing with that. There are the Home Depot and Lowe's, as great as they are, they're not the only options out there. There are other places out there that supply lumber or material or any other type of materials for better rates. Also,
Mhm.
get with your contractor because they may have a discount at certain places. So just a couple of cents here, a couple of cents there over, many square feet and many pounds of material can make a big difference.
for sure.
Um, Another mistake I think we didn't mention earlier, but time delays can be caused because sometimes we take on more than we can handle, or a contractor. Sometimes our contractor really wants to do the job for us, but we don't realize that they're doing four or five other jobs.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably another good conversation. Say, hey, I got to get this. Like we want to get this project done in 30 days or less. And so to have that conversation with the contractor, what what do you think would prevent us from getting it, being completed in 30 days? And
Yeah.
obviously, if it's a contractor you work with, you can have those conversations and
I think too, like having that conversation and being transparent on your finishes and the quality of that product. I mean, if you want a very high quality product, let's say you're doing a flip or something in the Heights or Edo, and your price point's 500, 600, 700,000. When you're done with the project, that that might not take 30 days. It might take
yeah.
a lot longer, because he needs to get more skilled trades in there, to make
Yeah.
that property look better. But if it's in an outer area of Houston or suburb and you're at the 200, 250 price range, yeah, I mean that they can probably get less skilled trades in there that can do the job, safely and correctly and up to codes, and you can
hmm
probably get done faster. So that's another discussion you want to make sure you're having with your contractor.
So number one, getting in writing. So in order to stay ahead of this, make sure you have those conversations with your inspector. Good questions are, do you know what permits need to be pulled? Do you know what inspections are going to be required? Make sure that they know if they're going to be responsible for doing that. And then, yeah, keep in mind, stay on top of material
Mhm.
costs. Look for better rates out there. Anything else?
Definitely.
Any other solutions to the timeline tango?
Well, I think really understanding order of operations, it's part of your project plan, but as you get experience and you work with experienced contractors, you'll know that if this house needs foundation work, you got to get this foundation and demo done. Preferably, they do the demo first, so they're
Yeah.
taking down sheetrock and gutting kitchens and things like that. And if you're going to move walls around, making sure you're sharing that with your foundation guys so they know like where supports need to be. If you're going to be moving walls, things like that, they want to make sure there's support underneath the house. If it's a pier and beam, things like that. But knowing the order of operations is very important. You're not going to come do foundation work after you've already laid flooring,
Yeah.
right? So knowing those order of operations is very important, and you can learn that through experience too,
So
or
what would you
working
say?
working with a partner or hiring a mentor.
So it's not just like a series of checklists, but it's like different phases, like phase one.
Right.
So what would be in phase one? Look at the foundation. Are
Well,
you
phase
putting?
one, we're doing demo and we're doing foundation work.
Okay.
That's kind of, and really depends on how extensive that foundation repair, leveling, what type of foundation it is, or if you're doing some type of addition to the property, right? So you're laying footing, you're pouring footings or foundation for that too on the extension. And then you're coming in and doing a lot of the exterior work. So if you're replacing siding and things
hmm
like that, you want to start and get all that stuff done and get the house just secured again,
Yeah.
and then starting like that interior work. Sometimes, depending on the size of the crews, you can kind of do the exterior and interior things together.
hmm
But if you have a smaller crew, you're probably doing a lot of the exterior work first, and then you come inside and you start working on the interior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foundation is critical. I've seen homes where the homeowners replace the windows and they replace the tile, and then a year or two later, the foundation's out of control, and they decide, okay, we'll bite the bullet and get the foundation repaired. Well, if the foundation is bad and it really needs a lot of work, when they move that house around, that tile's going to crack. The windows are going to break. So
Mm,
if
yeah,
you have tile, flooring, and windows, if that's coming down the path with your property, and so is foundation, don't do anything until you get that foundation taken care of, right?
exactly.
So let's talk about money, right? What's some of the mistakes, or what's the number one mistake with payments?
I mean, one of the commandments we talked about, the Ten Commandments of managing contractors is thou shalt not pay for work that's not done.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
think that's probably the biggest thing is giving your contractor large down payments. Some contractors, again, if you have this in writing, they do require some kind of down payment or
Yeah,
deposit.
yeah,
I get it, right? If it's someone I have never worked with before, I prefer to go ahead and buy the materials, because usually that down payment is the cover, like to start the project, to get these materials, to get the project started. No problem. I'll buy the materials, right?
right,
Just have Home Depot give me a call and I'll give them my credit card over the phone. We'll handle that. And then we'll pay your guys for, Friday at the end of the week for whatever work was done on the
right.
labor side until I can build a solid relationship with this person. Now, a lot of the contractors we work with now, we have ongoing relationships with them. We don't have a problem giving them 10, 20, even 30% down on a
Hmm.
project so they can get started, you know. But that's also like your job as well, to manage your
Yeah.
reserves to be sure you can get this project started as well, because your contractor, they're going to be working and they're going to be expecting to get paid, right, after
Yeah.
that's done. And if you're having money or cash flow problems, that's number one, your contractor is probably not going to work with you again because you're delaying payment because he's already paid his guys out, and now he just needs to get reimbursed if you're working with a general contractor. And then what's probably going to happen is all those guys are going to go work on a different project,
Yeah.
and until you get your cash flow. So
You'll
it's a two
become a
way
lower priority.
it's a two-way relationship, right? Is your contractors, you need them to come in, do quality work, and they're expecting to get paid,
Yeah.
So, but paying too much too soon, I think, is one of the biggest things. I've had one contractor run out on me. I've had some contractors where I overpaid too soon and they just really slowed down because they didn't really have a lot of incentive to really,
Mm,
to continue working at the pace that they were at. So, um, yeah, and then like really understanding what the contract says. So having your draw schedule, which we talked about in previous calls as well. I think having a draw schedule that's clearly defined, whether it's by phases or
hmm.
line items, Austin, these things need to be done before you get paid. And
Yeah.
you can go in and do your own inspection, or you can hire an inspector, maybe not a full home inspection, but hire somebody who knows what to look for to verify that the work has been done too
Yeah.
before you pay out these contractors.
I think that some of the horror stories that we've heard of contractors taking the money and running, obviously, that's not going to happen with a contractor that you have a really good relationship with.
Mhm.
That's typically, if you're the kind of investor that goes with the lowest bid, you're at a higher risk of something like that happening, of them botching the job. And it's not
Mhm.
just taking the money and running, but it's like messing something up and then disappearing. That's something that can happen too. So
Mhm.
having a contractor like Javier or Scott or somebody that you can have that relationship, that's important. And once you have that, there's going to be static. There's going to be headbutting. Being an adult and communicating and asking good questions and saying, "Hey, these were my expectations. They weren't met. Let's talk about it." And I've had those moments with Javier, and he has never like argued, or if there was ever a problem, which is rare, but it happens. People miss things. He takes care of it. He'll take care of it. And if it was something that I was misunderstanding, he'll let me know and he'll educate me. And you know, we're always able to find a resolution. Fortunately for me, I have somebody like Javier. You have your guys too, but it hasn't always been that way either, too. So earlier in my career and in with past contractors, we've had issues where they did that, where they messed something
Mhm.
up or they didn't meet a standard that we have. There's something in my backyard. Every time I look at it, I think of this contractor that I'm like, I got to get that taken care of. That contractor is probably totally gone. So,
I mean,
um,
it happens to the best of us too, Austin. I mean, even seasoned investors, maybe your primary guy is busy on another job, or maybe you just have something small, that he doesn't necessarily want to bring anybody over and work on because it's just a little bit too under budget for him.
yeah,
And so then you go out and you're going to Facebook, you're looking for people in groups, you're looking for referrals, and you get that one guy that you never used before to do
yeah,
this small job and they don't do a great job. It happens to all of
yeah,
us. Like it's
yeah,
happened to me on big jobs, where I've actually had the GC fire the subs that he was using because the quality was just so bad,
yeah, yeah,
and I just told him, I was like, if you want to keep working on this job, that person cannot work in this on our project at all.
yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just hire another GC. And he's like, okay, I'll bring someone else. And whether he fired him or not, but the dude was just incompetent, just not qualified to do the work.
So,
And
yeah,
it
sometimes we
happens.
don't have the option. We have to go with
Yeah,
a stranger. That's
yeah,
true.
you have to sometimes. And then, I've had people ask me for recommendations, like primary homeowners ask me for
Hmm.
recommendations, and I don't give them a recommendation mainly because all of the contractors I work with, they're used to working with investors,
Yeah,
They're used to dust being everywhere. They're used to not having to cover furniture or move things around.
yeah.
Like they're used to having a big mess or whatever. And I've made the mistake of recommending guys before in the past to primary homeowners, and they complained about them and they complained to me. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry. So I never don't want to make that mistake again. But anyway, yeah, having the right guys in place, having milestones, right, for work to be done, based off the draw schedule to make sure you're paying for the work that is actually getting done. Um, and then like withholding some at
Hmm.
the end, right? I mean, and it's got to be significant enough to motivate them to come back and finish your job,
Yeah.
because they're going to be working in phases too. Typically, they have crews that are going to just do demo, and then you've got your framers, and you've got your tile and flooring guys, which might be a different crew as well. You've got your trades, right? Electrical, plumbing, HVAC people in there. You got your
Yeah.
drywall guy, you know, and you want to withhold that one payment at the very end until everything is complete, right?
Hmm.
All trim outs done, your final inspection is passed, everything's been tested. We even have a GC that we work with, Austin. He doesn't take his final payment until we actually sell the house, you
Nice.
know. So because he knows there's going to be an inspection coming. Whenever we find a buyer, they're going to do an inspection, and if
Yeah.
anything on his scope of work needs to be fixed, he typically would like us to hold that money
Right.
until those guys go back and fix things.
No,
So
that's excellent.
not all contractors are like that, but he'll do that for us.
Some contractors won't take anything until closing and then charge you a fee on that too. So
Yeah.
that's um, some contractors will finance some of the work, and so that's kind of a good additional. So let's open it up to the audience. Want to see? We got a couple of people on the call. We want to hear about your experiences. We want to answer some questions. So first question: what is the biggest timeline delay that you have ever faced? And if nobody answers, I do have one story. Um, I'm gonna mention this guy's name. He's not on the call, but he jumps on the call sometimes. His name's James McDonald. James bought a house in Dickinson in 2020 in March 2020. He bought a house. He was able to get it for $120,000, and the ARV was in the low 200s. Over the course of 13 to 14 months, his contractor died. He had just one delay after another. I'm not sure if he was really motivated. And then he had kind of a hard time finding a good contractor to kind of take over the job. But what happened, it ended up taking so long that year, um, the ARV of the property increased by $80,000.
Oh wow.
And so when we took it to market, and it was fully rehabbed, it was beautiful. He took a $120,000 house. We sold it for over $300,000.
Nice.
That's the only flip, just straight flip, where on a single family home where a client made six figures just flipping a house
Wow.
that I've been a part of. But Liv has one related to oh, come on. That's not true, is it? Liv said that her biggest delays have been related to DIY issues. I'm I'm a husband and I've got my honeydew list at home, and even with my experience, just building a chair, just building a stool in the backyard, there's always something that creates a delay. Just fixing the garage door. Maybe it's a tool that I'm missing. Then I'm looking for my tool, and then I don't have the tool, and then I have to go to Home Depot, and then they don't have it. And it's just like always something little like that that just ends up creating completely unnecessary delays, even for like a 15 or 30-minute job. That happens a lot. So, what else? What are some biggest? You can come off camera or raise your hand. Albert, what about you? What are some of the biggest timeline delays you've faced?
Oh man, where do I start? It seems like every project has some kind of delay, but I think I don't know if it's the biggest delay, but one of them, like the toughest, was in 2021, and we closed on the property in March. And I don't know if you remember, but that February we had the big freeze, so
Hmm.
there was a lot of like shortage in plumbing parts and things like that. But contractors were still really feeling the after effects of those short supplies
Yeah.
in 2021. And we had a contractor. We closed on it in March. It was like a $60,000 rehab, which is, not a small rehab. It was a full gut rehab. The house was actually halfway gutted when we bought it. But he gave us like a 3 month timeline. I was like, cool, June, awesome, right? Well, all of these delays, and this was the project I mentioned where I kind of overpaid, so he was asking for more money to get some materials because there were some delays, and I was just like, okay, this was our third project at the time, and I'm like, okay, I paid him more, and he just really slowed down. So that 3 month project turned into like a 6 month project. Now we did, kind of hold his feet to the fire because we found out he was using our money to pay his hard money loans. So that was another thing that slowed it down. Um, but then once we got through all of that, we actually did pretty well on the project. But that was our first experience at how contractors can really slow your project down with no fault of your own,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And then we have general contractor that we use as well. It seems like the projects start with a bang, right? You got people there demoing, you got your foundation crew there,
Hmm.
they're starting work on the exterior, they're doing framing, and then like as soon as sheetrock goes up for us, it just seems like things just really start to crawl, you
Yeah.
know, because then you've got the painter that takes several days
Hmm.
prepping and getting all the trim and all this stuff. Like the paint just seems like it takes forever. And then you've got flooring, you've
Yeah.
got a cap. All of those finishing touches at the end just seem to just
Yeah. I've
drag on. And
experienced
we
that
tell
too.
that to new investors too. It's like look, you think that this is going to be done super fast because all your guys are there and they're all working. It's like this is great to see. Your money's hard at work, but then things just really slow down at the end. It seems like.
Liv brings up an interesting one. Liv, I have dealt with this one with an HVAC guy. The nicest guy in the world. Had a delay due to electrical because the guy just wanted to be my husband's buddy. He kept dragging things out so he could just hang out. So we made the mistake of being too nice. That is a real problem because some of
Yeah.
these contractors, they want to talk. We have a guy that will talk your ear off, and you've got to have the skills to get out of that situation. The problem is if you're that person that's talking too much, you may be wondering why people are avoiding you. It's not because you're not nice. It's just because you just won't stop talking too much. So yeah, being too nice, that is you got to set your boundaries too. And that's just like dealing with people in general. So yeah, and I wonder if he was doing that on purpose to delay the job. Do you think, or do you think he was just a social talker kind of guy?
Hmm.
Have you ever had a payment disagreement with a contractor?
Yes.
Yeah, I've had a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, I told you just that one story. Once we found out that he was using our cash to pay his hard money loan, I think he probably did maybe five or $10,000 more worth of work. That
Yeah,
we were just like, you need to finish this project. You slowed us down by 2 months. That equates to $8,000 in interest that we had to pay on this project, and I think it was like $7,000 worth of interest that we had to pay extra. And he actually was like, okay, I can help. I can help you with that. Like, let
yeah,
me just finish the project. It's like, okay. And because we were ready to fire him. And so we gave him an opportunity to finish the project, but that was a payment dispute. I've had quality I've had one contractor refund me money, so that's almost never happened because of the quality of a floor refinish job.
hmm,
And this was that one I told you where the guy was just incompetent. And I just told him, like, dude, after the floor debacle, I said, do not bring this person back into my house. I do not want to see his face here again. Him or his little helper. Never
yeah,
again. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna hire a flooring guy to come fix what this guy did, and you're paying that guy for it. I'm not paying for it. And they reimbursed me for it. So, and then refunded me, I think, like $1,500 after it was all said and done.
yeah,
So, most contractors that I've talked to, when we have a payment dispute, they have a very good reason
yeah,
that they have a very good excuse or reason why the payment, the cost is different,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I typically just end up agreeing with them just to get it over and done with. So yeah.
My big one was with the HVAC. The AC needed to be replaced, and he said it wasn't on the bid, and it was mentioned, but because I didn't have an itemized, this was early in one with my first flip,
Hmm.
and he was like, "I don't do HVAC." I'm like, "We had this conversation." He was like, "Well, I don't do it. It wasn't on the bid." I mean, that was thousands of dollars that I missed, and just because I didn't get it in writing. Um, are you facing any specific challenges with current rehab projects right now?
Uh, for me, no, we have more of like market issues, right? Marketing
Yeah,
issues, is selling properties. But our new construction project is pretty much done. They're doing like final paint and touch ups this week, hanging mirrors, like things like that, like just a little bit of drywall repair. Like I went and did a walkthrough today, and it's looking good, man. New construction, I think, is where we're headed to
yeah,
doing more of these projects. We do have a few small rehab projects that we wanted you to just kind of keep in the hopper, but I think for our main thing is new construction. But we don't have anything that's in progress right now.
yeah,
You know, but we had like delays on that one we can't sell. It
yeah.
was supposed to be done in November. It wasn't done until January, mid-January. So, you know,
So
but
we have two new constructions going right now, and we're selling two flips. And the biggest challenge with all four of these is time. It's the delays. Whether it be weather or who knows why, but just contractors not sticking to their estimated timelines. That's really hurting people. In
mhm,
one instance, I believe it had to do with the investors doing too much. And the problem this year, why this was such an issue, is because they're doing too many projects. The projects are being delayed. Meanwhile, we're facing a market where inventory is increasing at a rapid pace right now. And with that increase in inventory, the market demand for the market's demanding higher quality homes for the same price.
mhm.
And so number one, the delays, and number two, when if they're not doing everything like absolutely perfect, the market's just passing. They're just swiping right on it. So meanwhile, the estimated ARV of these homes just dropping.
Yeah,
because of that reason. So, anything
exactly.
else? Any other causes and delay besides weather, contractors dying, contractors talking too much, poor communication? What else
Austin,
did?
there's a an issue that this brought to mind, and it was on a project that Albert and I were doing together. Is that when we discussed something that was going to be done on the house along the way,
Mhm.
uh, to me, Albert, and Julia, who typically is our decor person, it all sounded great. All looks great on paper, but at some point when it materialized in the property, it just
Yeah.
did not work. And so, due to no one's fault, that was it was a huge delay, as we had to, get with contractors and go back and say, "Hey, we know you did what we told you, but we've now changed our mind."
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, that one came to mind for me.
That's a
Yeah,
that's a good one too.
yeah. Having those design decisions, up front, uh, and those are good lessons learned, and that's the beauty of real estate is you can tune into this call and watch us talk about, real estate. You can tune into the YouTube channel and watch all the videos, listen to the podcasts, but you're gonna learn the most by doing, is whether it's with a partner or you hire a mentor or coach, or you're just going to grind it out and just put your own property under contract and figure this stuff out, but if you're just on the sidelines and you're just watching videos, listening to podcasts, reading books, you're just getting a lot of information, and what you really need are clear instructions, preferably with someone
Yes.
that is in your area, that has experience, that knows what they're doing, going to meetups, networking with people, taking people out to coffee, working for people that might be working on a project that are working for someone in real estate to get
Yeah.
experience. I think that's kind of what this whole foundation of these calls is for.
Hmm.
The way you started it, Austin, was, hey, we want to start at the beginning, right? No
Yep.
question's a dumb question. We want to just start people from the beginning, and we've methodically gone that way. But um, even seasoned investors still make mistakes,
Yes.
and that's the best part about this is that's how you learn, that's how you grow. I heard something today, and it said that, there's a difference between having 5 years experience and all you did over those 5 years was the exact same thing.
Hmm.
Could you still say you have 5 years of experience? I guess you can, right? But if you're did something in year one and that led you to do something different in year two and that led you to do something different in year three and so on and so forth, that person who did different things, methodically for 5 years has a much better
Yeah.
5 year experience resume than that one person who did the exact same thing for five
Yeah.
years you know I rambled a little bit there, but
That
yeah,
was
I thought
good.
that was
That was
really
good.
interesting. Yeah, I just
Excellent
wanted to share
points.
that. Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you brought up networking. Before we wrap up, I want to mention that we are now part of the Houston Deal Flow Network. This is a networking is key. This is how you can meet contractors and other investors and money lenders by going to these events. We're hosting ours at the end of this month. Keep an eye out for this invitation. It's not the same happy hour that I have been hosting for 5 years. This is a different network group that I'm now forming with Magdiel Garza from South Trust Bank. Um, Sidang from NRG is a co-sponsor. Uh, Jose Tristan, SBA lender, is going to be there. We have a couple of other attorneys and lenders. So everybody that's on this call will get an invitation for that. So please um, um, take time. You should be doing one of these at least once a month, if not once
Yes.
a quarter, but on a regular basis, network. Because when you go to these network events, you meet people, get their contact information, build relationships, because this is the business we're in. And as Ziegler famously said, we are the average of the five people we spend the most time with. And these are the kind of people I want to be spending time with. Albert, you're my kind of people. And this is why we have this call. So
Awesome.
thanks for joining on the call. Don't forget, subscribe on YouTube, like, and follow us on Facebook. I did stream it live on Facebook, so make sure you're
Awesome.
at following Austin from Houston on Facebook. That's me. So, any
Awesome.
final words, brother?
No, man, just have a great week. Get out there and get after it. Don't let the day go by without learning something new.
That's right. And send me your deals. Albert and I are gonna debate some deals on Monday, so send us some fun stuff. Have a good
Awesome, man.
one. Bye.
Have a good one.